This is the story of Thabani Nyawose, who started out his life as a boy from rural Izingolweni in southern KwaZulu-Natal. He was raised in the political turmoil of the late 1980s and 1990s. He survived being shot, the hardship of hostel life, and political violence. He endured debilitating sickness and isolation and has triumphed. From rural KZN to being mentored by a pastor, he went on to live the life of a hostel dweller, university leader, city councillor, and top municipal official. Now, Thabani Nyawose is contesting the position to be the leader of the ANC in the eThekwini region.
Uhambo lwempilo yami akubanga uhambo olula, bekuhambo belunzima, linengqinamba eziningi endleleni. Ngiyambonga kakhulu kodwa uNkulunkulu ukuthi uhambe nami. Ngadlula kuwo konke ngaphila kwaze kwafika lesi sikhathi. Ngiyabonga kodwa kakhulu kubantu ababambele iqhaza ungenza ngibe lokho engiyikho namhlanje ngezindlela ezahlukahlukene. Umndeni wasekhaya kwaNyawose, umphakathi wasezingolweni eMdlazi, abangane bami namalungu kaKhongolose. Ngiyambonga futhi ke nonkosikazi wami uNodumo ngokubamba iqhaza semqoka kakhulu empilweni yami ngesikhathi ngibhekene nezimo ezinzima namhlanje ngiqhenya ngaye useyingxenye futhi enkulu empilo yami. Ngiyafisa kodwa ukusho ukuthi nezwe lakithi South Africa ngiyalithanda kakhulu noma ngabe libhekene nezingqinamba ezintathu engicabanga ukuthi ngokubambisana nohulumeni abantu baseNingizimu Afrika bayakwazi ukuyinqoba. Inkinga yokusoleka kwemisebenzi, inkinga yokungalingani ezweni, nenkinga yobuphofu. Konke lokho singakunqoba uma sibambisene. Inhlangano kaKhongolose ngikholwa ukuthi yiyo okwamanje kuphela enamasu acacile nezisombululo ezisobala zokuxazulula inkinga ezibhekene nabantu baseNingizimu Afrika. iANC ke inomsebenzi omkhulu ukuthi ikhulume ngobumbano, ikhulume ngobunye, ikhulume ngokwakhiwa komnotho, ikhulume ngokwenza izwe elinokuthula. Nami ke ngiyafisa ukubamba iqhaza ukufezekisa lelo phupho.
This is his story. We introduce key family members in Thabani's life.
So hi, my name is Pelelani. I'm Thabani's oldest son. I'm the firstborn. Right, so this is where I grew up, and Izingolweni Mdlazi. That's the school I used to go to. I spent some of my time in the school as well, from grade R to grade 4. In the times before I came here, I first spent some time in Durban, S.J. Smith hostel, where I remember a few years and a few things. You know, I used to go to meetings with my dad. Well, I'd follow him, not that he'd invite me there, but I just follow him around because it just seems I was fascinated by what he was doing. You know, there was all these people around him. He was always being in meetings, and then times got very, I guess, difficult or dangerous for me to live in the hostel, and then I was sent back here. You know, so I lived with my grandmother and my grandfather. So I used to take the cows over to the bushes and everything. And now currently I am residing in the States, in the USA.
This is my house. That is where I was born. That's where I grew up as a little boy, with the love and support of my both parents, of which I'm blessed. They still alive and strong at their age. I'm very proud of them because they contributed a lot in my life as a young boy and to make me what I am today. Without their support and their life, it would have been very difficult for me. You know that because of the system of the migrant labor in South Africa, my dad at an early age, he had to leave his parents and his community and go to Durban to look for work, to support his parent, to support his wife, my mother. By then they were separated, not because of their plan, but because of the system of the apartheid that forced a man or a head of the household to leave his family to go and look for job. Now, many families didn't survive that. They got destroyed, kids didn't get national support.
Thabani uThabani ikhale qala ujoina iANC kwakungelula wayehlasela ke kodwa ngangibonga uNkulunkulu njalo noyiphuma esikoleni ngangengithandaza ngithi inkosi zohamba naye
ukhule ngela ekhaya umfana ekhuthele kwenzeni izinto kwafika lesikhathi ke ukuthi ke kungene iqembu leLNC balithanda ngesikhathi elithanda ke leqembu kanti nami vele ngiyalithanda ngale anginankinga ngaye melithanda kuhamba kahle ngilapho kuhamba ukuthi ke kwavuka lo mbuso ukuthi kuvele iqembu leIFP libe namandla ukwazi limelane nabo. Ngibonga uNkulunkulu ukuthi isiphiko salekhaya sikhona bekuyiphupho lami futhi ngimbona ukuthi uyamba kahle unesiphiwo sokuhola uyazibona izinto umuntu ozibona izinto ezikude azibone futhi ukuthi unamandla ukuthi afinyelele kuzona. So konke nje konke obeyenzeka kuyena beke ngibonga uNkulunkulu ukuthi uNkulunkulu unamandla ukuthi akuvikele entweni ezimbi.
Thabani was chased away from Izingolweni after being attacked because of his political beliefs. His parents sent him to Jolwayo High School in Harding, and this was his classroom. He matriculated from here in 1995 and lived with the legendary Pastor BNB Ngidi.
But fortunately, I managed to get a school that never rejected me. Because in all the schools in my community, there was no school that was prepared to accept me. But I came here, the school opened its arms, they accommodated me, then I received warmth from the teachers, and from the community. I spent my time, 92, 93, 94, 95 was here, staying in this community, after hiding, running away from my life from the community. To me, this is a very important mark and an important era in the journey of my life.
I know Thabani distinctly because he was in my class and I was a history teacher. So Thabani and others lived with the Reverend late Pastor Ngidi. He came here to eThekwini, but I could see as a history teacher that he knew a lot about politics. And during those years, our history syllabus wasn't the same as this one that is post-1994. But I could see Thabani when we interacted in class that he would sway me from the lesson and he would like to talk politics. I would see Thabani and his friends that they would not like the history class to come to an end. They would chat and tell me about Mandela. He was a brilliant student. He worked very well. He passed. It is then later that I heard that Thabani had joined politics. And I said to one of our history teachers that I had said in class that Thabani is going far with this politics.
When he arrived in Harding, Thabani was befriended by a young boy Pelelani, who helped him establish himself in a new town. Thabani and Pelelani became friends for life.
My name is Pelelani Skwebela. I knew Thabani from, I think it was 1992 when he came to my school. When we came here to do grade 9, which was standard 7 by then. The thing that made us friends was that he used to borrow my book, which was in Jula, Nokjiawesi Zulu. So we started being friends from then. And then he was a very humble man or humble boy. Since then, from standard 7, he was at a class, he was doing very good. He was clever. He was a very good speaking person. He would gather us together. He loved the ANC. He would win by debate, not by force. Whatever he wanted to achieve, he would achieve. That is why there were times where we would ask ourselves, backchat him. Is he using muti or what? I learned a lot politically, even educationally, so yeah. And then lastly, he loved church. He can sing, the guy can sing. Yeah, the guy can sing. So he loves God, so it's because when he would sing in front of all the learners, he would entertain, he would call us to sing Statamia in front of other learners at the morning devotion, or we would just sing every time when we would sing Statamia. Even now,
the impact, the influence by Reverend Ngidi in our life is amazing. May his soul rest in peace. He was a very good person because he was a devoted, dedicated Christian, a pastor. He was also a politician. Now, whenever he talked to us, he will introduce both subjects, Christianity and politics. That's why he was encouraging us to be brave, to be principled, but to be disciplined. Now he's saying to us, the manner you raise issues, you must be disciplined. Yes. You must not raise issues in a manner that will distract. Yes. That is politics we learn. In my life today, I live according to those principles. Bravery, principle, discipline. Even in the ANC now we take in, when I differ with any leader, I speak my mind. I speak my mind. When I don't agree with the whole ANC leadership in KwaZulu-Natal National, I stand my ground. I remember in 2015, November, in Pietermaritzburg, after the ANC provincial conference, I was not happy with some of the things. I was part of the ANC members in KwaZulu-Natal who challenged the outcome of that conference. We ended up going to court, standing against the PEC of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, standing against the NEC of the ANC under Zuma's leadership. We challenged their authority, and I was in the forefront in doing that, not being scared, but because of these teachings that I got from this community. A decision to participate in taking the ANC to court was not an easy decision. We took that decision after a long time trying to engage both the PEC of the ANC in the province and the office of the Secretary General by then, Comrade Gwede Mantashe. But Comrade were not prepared to sit down and listen to the issues we wanted to raise by then. But the reason why I decided to participate and support those 5 applicants was because there was a high level of manipulation of ANC processes leading to the 8th KZN ANC conference Number two, objections and concerns that were raised by branches were never attended. The conference itself, delegates that were already given accreditation, they were allowed to participate in the first session of the conference, but they were later told to leave because there were some questions about their nomination from their branches. Then the conference proceeded and then elected the leadership. It means there were a lot of unattended issues leading to the conference and on the day of the conference, and those issues were raised. Then we went to the PEC by then to submit ourselves to confirm that we are going to work with them, but we don't want to be victimized because we had a different view prior conference. But something contrary happened. Comrades were victimized, were isolated, they were humiliated in their branches and their region. Those were deployed in certain structures of government, they were removed. Then we decided to request a session with the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Mantashe. Then he refused to see us. Then around June, July, we decided to go to court to challenge the conference. But the reason why we went to court, basing our argument on Rule 2.2.1, we talk about convening an early conference can only be done if it has been requested by 70% of ANC structures. That is the main reason why I decided to challenge the NEC and the PC of KwaZulu-Natal by then. But I thank God for his life. He's one of the persons that have made a major contribution in my life. Because those days as a boy at that age were very scary and frustrating. You are far away from your home, but I found a brother here.
He taught me how to cook. That's another thing.
Because at church, at the mission, we'd go there. We were cooking because they were staying with their parents, right? My experience, I ran away from home. I had to teach myself those things. Now they'll come to me, they can't cook.
Soon after his move to Harding, Thabani went home to visit his parents at Izingolweni. He was shot in an attack there.
We just get off from the bus in this spot, right? Then, while the bus was parked, we were offloading. There were 3 people, boys on the ground. I was still inside the bus, trying to go down. They shot me here. The bullet went down here. The bullet is still here with me because doctors could not remove it. I walk with that bullet even today. Thanks God I'm still alive. Then when I was shot inside the bus, I had to slowly walk down to the ground. Then on the ground, because I was still conscious. Then I walk across the road. Just imagine, because there's always traffic here. It's N2, it's a freeway, it's always busy. But at the moment when I was crossing, there was no car. To me, that was a plan of God, because I had to be saved for the country South Africa to benefit out of my life. I could have died on that day. Then I went across that bush. That where I lost power, I fell down and slept. Because those days were very terrible in our community. Not even a single person by that time who wanted to come to my rescue. There were many people here moving up and down. Some of the people were selling their stuff here, moving. Some I grew up with, they know me. But because I was known that To them, I was a troublesome child or boy who's an ANC member who's not welcome in this community. Now, whoever tried to come to my rescue would have been identified and killed. Everyone ran away. Then I was alone in the bush, crying, bleeding, and looking for help. Fortunately, there was a woman whose the name is Bonisiwe Cele. I respect that woman even today. She's still alive. I love her very much. She knows that. She was a teacher by that time around Guamati. Then she remembered that on this bus there was Thabani. Now there was a shot all of a sudden, but when then he came and looked for me. She found me in that bush. That the woman who rescued me, because I was in a very terrible condition. The injuries were bad, the bullets. Then she came, raised her hands, and cried for help. Listen, the miracles of God. While crying for help, in the middle of the N2, there's a flow of traffic speeding. There comes a taxi. This taxi, the owner of the taxi and the driver of the taxi is a family member. From my same community, Mlazi, Ubaba Thabani Nyawose. He saw this woman, he knows her from the community. She's standing on the road crying. When he parked his car, what is happening? Now he said, no, there's Thabani here sleeping, he has been shot. Now, this family member stopped everything he was doing. He asked this woman to lift me up to his taxi, took me to the clinic. There's a nearest clinic here, known as Izingolweni clinic is here. I was taken to the clinic. On the arrival, I became unconscious. I woke up the following day at Mthethwa Hospital. The bullet that is inside my body, it always encouraged me to press on and continue in life, to stand for the principle. Because this bullet reminds me that in my journey as a boy, I stood for a principle. When my whole community, family members, childhood friends, chiefs, Izindunas, most powerful, respected people in my community, teachers, were saying it's wrong to be an ANC member in this community. But I refused to believe and to accept that. I then suffered. Now in my journey as a politician, this bullet reminds me that I should always stand for the principle and always stand for the right things. This bullet is doing that job in my life. It reminds me of the journey I've traveled.
Thabani's life story is profoundly influenced by Pastor BNB Ngidi, a pastor at the United Congregational Church of Southern Africa at eThekwini Mission in Harding. Pastor Ngidi was originally from Mpumalanga Township. Thabani met the pastor at the funeral of a school friend who was killed in a tragic accident. Thabani went on to live in the parish residence.
After the service was over, then he called me. He said, "Young boy, who are you?" I then introduced myself. He said, "No, I see something in you. God wants to use you. Where do you stay? Do you mind if you can speak to your parents and move and stay with me in church?" My parents are very dedicated Christians. They were happy if I'm taken away by the pastor to stay to the church, because they knew that Christian values will be instilled in me. In fact, it's the way they brought me up. That's how I came here, to stay with him. But the support he gave me was amazing. Visiting me to the hospital, praying for me, supporting me. Even on the day in May, I was to church in May. When I was to church from hospital, he said, no, don't go back to your parents, come here. I said, no, I'm still weak, I need support, I need to be taken care of. I went to my parents, spent a few months, but the full recovery after that terrible injury happened here. He's the man who prayed for me, who guided me, who supported me on many things. This is where my life began. In fact, my life was complete here. This is where I learned pure ANC politics. This is where as well I learned true Christianity. How to pray, how to read the Bible, how to treat other people, how to behave as a Christian. Now, I also learned the most important thing in my life, that being a man who fears God, a born-again Christian, and also an activist, you can do it both. I learned it here. Because previously, before I met him, we were told that if you are a Christian, you should not be involved on the issues or affairs of the country. Don't be involved in politics. Politics is a sin. Yeah, because in politics, people talk too much, they're doing slogan, there's a lot. But this man said to me, we need people who are God-fearing, Christians who know Christ, who are born again, so that they live Christianity in politics, so that out of politics we produce leaders who are ethical, with morals, leaders who are credible, with integrity.
Pastor Ngidi is the father of Nhlanhla Ngidi, a man well known in ANC circles. Nhlanhla Ngidi is a former soldier of Umkhonto weSizwe, a former leader of the ANC in former Durban West region, a former member of the KZN legislature, former Director General of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Administration, and is currently the political advisor of KZN Premier Sihle Zikalala.
I've known him for a long time when he was young. I just returned from exile. When I found him with my father at the time was the minister in charge at the UCCA church in Harding. And here was this young man I've not seen from a bar of soap, who seemed so familiar around, and he seemed like he was just part of the family. Now, my father had that knack of attracting particularly the youth and working with them. Even in the church, he liked working with the youth because he did believe that the future of the country is in the youth. So he liked to contribute in building that youth. So Thabani then was one of those youngsters who he was politically involved. He had run away from his hometown because of the violence that took place at the time, and he needed a place to hide. My father had no hesitation to take him in because he believed in the cause that he was standing for. He was also an active person. He had also been in prison, detained for quite some time, so he knew that if he did not assist, it would not be a good thing. It would not be contributing to the cause of the liberation of those who were downtrodden and oppressed. So he was there, and during the time he was there, he did display quite good qualities of leadership. Very confident young man, Young as he was a matriculant then, but when with other boys of his own age, you could see that this is the leader in the making. They would all be listening to him. He seemed like he had quite a lot of influence in him. And all that my father did was then to channel him in the right way. My father was a minister of religion. He also added the religious aspect in his life, which he believed was quite important, as it would then help him to shape his thinking, shape his world outlook, so that when he becomes a leader, he becomes a worthy leader.
In this space is holy to me. This space shaped my character. This space shaped my life. I used to walk around here praying. If I'm here, there's joy in my heart. There's satisfaction. If I'm here, to me, my life is complete. My life is complete because a man sent by God to my life left a mark that I will never forget. Even today, we are still very close with his family. Ngidi is my elder brother. He's still a member of the ANC. We are still in contact. He supports me even today in my campaign to be the chair, because he understands the word that was spoken by his father over my life. This boy, God wants to use him. Now, Ngidi believe in those words. He attends my meetings. I feel very honored sometimes when I address thousands of ANC supporters in a meeting. Then when I look, there Ngidi sitting, listening to my address. I grew up under his father's guidance. When he came back from exile, he came back, I was staying with his father here. He used to come here to visit us. You will find me here. We'll discuss politics. He contributed a lot in my life as his father did.
The scene of the Shoboshobane massacre on Christmas Day in 1995 is about a kilometer away from Thabani's home in Izingolweni. The monument there is a constant reminder to Thabani. It is his compass of conscience in the ANC.
Yeah, this is Shoboshobane Memorial Site, where most of the comrades and their families who were assassinated on the December 25th, 1995 are being buried. Whenever I'm here, this is my place. I was born in this area. I grew up here. I participated in ANC UTF activities in the very same community. But when I'm in this place, I feel very humbled, because it reminds me a very terrible and a painful history of our country, our province, and this community. Because besides that, these people were killed. But something that most people don't know and understand, division between the IFP and ANC in this community divided families, brothers, friends, people who grew up together. They were divided. Unfortunately, they ended up killing one another. In my case, when I ran away from home, were Nyawose family members who were in the forefront of my attack, humiliating my parents from my own community. If you look at the list on this memorial wall, there are more than 5 or 6 my family members. But the painful thing that when they were killed, some Nyawose family members participated to kill their own children, their own parents, their own sisters. May their soul rest in peace. Therefore, the issue of intolerance is something that we have to work on it on a daily basis. A lot has been done in memory and respect of those comrades who died in my community and other areas in South Coast and other areas in KwaZulu-Natal and in the country. There are many sites of this nature in South Africa. We owe those people, those of us who were lucky to survive, we owe these people to continue to do good. But for us to do good, we must make sure that we deliver quality of services to their communities. We make sure that we empower them economically. We make sure that we create a just and a peaceful environment for all South Africans to feel safe in their country. Deal with issues of crime, but more especially deal with issues of corruption, so that families of these comrades will begin to see the fruits of what they suffered for. But if we are not strong and firm as an ANC in fighting corruption, because corruption really reversed the gains and the progress was made as an ANC. I'm sure these comrades will be very disappointed to hear that there are ANC members and ANC leaders who are alleged to be involved in such things.
Thabani has spent much of his life immersed in hostels. As a resident, the child of a factory worker, a councillor, and student. While he was a hostel resident, Thabani mobilized for the ANC, led the community there, got married, and had his first son. He also graduated from university while he was a hostel resident.
During the time I spent here at the H.J. Smith Hostel, Block F, I used to stay in this room because my dad, as a migrant labor or worker, when he moved from home, he came to stay here. He was staying in this bed. There was Mr. Mandala here. There was one family member, Mr. Nyawose, there. Then there was Mr. Hardship here. They were all in the 50s. Then I came here to stay with my father. Then there was a brother here. There were two sons. There was one son there. I studied staying in my dad's bed. It means if my dad is not working a night shift, he's sleeping here, I will sleep down. Because we are sharing this bed with him. That was life here. Now everything like TV, radios have to be shared in those days. Because just imagine if each and every person here owns a TV, there will be chaos. Although we are individuals, but we have to learn to live together. That environment taught almost all hostel dwellers to learn to live with other people, to learn to accept other people's conditions, their background. It's a very good training in understanding human beings and to build interpersonal relations. When I was here, in those days, there was order. This room was meant to accommodate 4 people, but now we were 8, if not 9. It means there's no privacy. You can't do your own thing as an individual. We have to share the space. You stay in a place like this, you share ablution facilities, you share the kitchen, you share everything. Now, in this room, we are sitting with older people. The life you live is totally different. You are not living with people at your same age. You can't discuss things that are close to your heart. It means the life you live is not really comfortable because you sit with your dad every time. What do you discuss with your dad? He will always tell you about cows, planting at home, telling you about being a good boy, behave, all those things. You can't meet with your friends. Now, those were the days, but there are lessons that we have learned. The lessons we have learned as young boys, to sit with people who are older than us, who always guide us on everything, teaching us not to be involved in bad things. That was an advantage. But at the same time, there were days where you feel that I want to be free. I want to be a boy. I want to do things that are being done by people at my age. But you could not do it here. Learn to live with other people, even people that you don't agree with them, culturally, religiously, or otherwise. But we learn to be tolerant. Now today, as a grown-up leader, I still live according to those principles and those lessons, to respect other people, learn to accept things I cannot change in life, because I can't force people. I can't impose my belief. I can't impose my lifestyle. Those are the lessons I learned here.
As a hostel dweller, Thabani learned invaluable lessons in life that were to stand him in good stead as a leader and an organizer.
This building is very strategic in my life. This is where I got popular in the ANC. This is where I became known in Durban, mainly in ANC structures. When I was here, after the assassination of the late Prince Senzo, the former councillor of this area, he was an ESCO member of South Central Municipality. I then became a councillor for S.J. Smith and Jacobs. It was Ward B12 in those days. Then I was here when the community of both Hostel, Jacobs and S.J. Smith saw something in me. Then ANC structures agreed that I should be a councillor. But it's very interesting. Inside the ANC, when I was approached or elected, there was no contest. No one contested the position. Two things. Number one, people were not interested in leading in those days because there was violence. When you become a leader of the ANC, you'll be killed. Number two is this block where I got my degree from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Westville campus. I used to live from this block, walking here, take a bus, a taxi to school. Now Block M to me carries a lot of significance.
While at S.J. Smith Hostel, Thabani started a number of programs to help hostel dwellers. He started adult-based education training classes. He also started an exchange program between university students and hostel residents, where they would visit each other and share their different cultures. Thabani also started a soup kitchen to help those that couldn't afford to feed themselves, and a healthcare center to assist people with chronic medication. His wife started there as a volunteer, and this was where her skills developed as she later went on to be a professional nurse.
I think maybe I should start by introducing my lovely wife, Thabani Nyawose. She's from Eastern Cape, Lusigisigi. Her surname is Nganya before we got married. I met Thabani in 1998. Then I persuaded her to come and stay with me in this room. I was reluctant because I thought she's going to refuse because of the era in that time. By that time, there was violence here. People were being killed. I thought she would say, no, I'm scared to come and stay with you. But fortunately, she agreed to come and stay with me. But the reason why I decided to persuade her to come and stay with me here is because I needed someone who will look after me, take care of me. I was very clear when I brought her here that this would be my wife. And I told her that I don't want to waste my time. I need someone who's prepared about life, and then someone who will be my wife. Then she agreed. Then I was comfortable to move and stay with her from 1998 till we got married in 2006, July 1. We've been together. Now we've been together for more than 20 years. And I love her very much, and they have done a lot in my life. But the most important thing is to save my life when I was attacked here.
Igama lami uNodumo Nyawose, inkosikazi kaThabani Nyawose. Those days were terrified, but sometimes we were happy. In fact, I was happy. I met Thabani in 1998, and then I felt pregnant. Uphelelane, my first son. Emva kokuba uThabani ehlaselwe apha endlini, ndabona umehluko phakathi kwe-ANC ne-IFP. Ndabona uba politics, my husband told me about politics. So between mna naye ngubani ohamba phambili is ANC, so I'm a second person. So I noticed that day that my husband is really love ANC.
Sibongiseni Ntobela was a fellow organizer of Thabani's at Wema in the dark days when violence between ANC and IFP supporters was at its worst and residents lived in fear of warring sides. Thabani survived the third attack on his life.
I know Thabani Nyawose from early 90s. We were living during the difficult times where there is violence between the ANC and the IFP.
I was walking in. I was walking in here. I think a sniper was standing or sitting somewhere. Whether it's 303 or G3, but these were the bullets where they were trying to kill me. Moving inside the building. It was the first shot, the second shot, and the third shot was I was moving inside the hospital. I don't know where they were there, but they were trying to kill me. It was tough, 1999. Being here today, it brings memories, mixed memories. I'm happy, I'm emotional as well. The reason why I feel happy, ukuthi lendlu ila engalungiselelwa ngaqeqeshwa khona ukuba umholi we-ANC nomholi wabantu, ngoba ila kulendlu la ngafunda khona into eziningi zokuba umholi emphakathini. Now I'm happy because in this room, that is where as well I used to stay in this corner studying very hard till I got my degree. I used this room as my study room, staying with my wife, being a leader of the ANC. While busy with my books, people will come to consult. While busy with my books, someone will be killed outside. I will be expected to drop whatever I'm doing to go and attend to that. Now, that was my life. That's why I'm saying I'm happy, because in this room, ngafunda ukuthi ngibambe izinto eziningi ngesikhathi sodwa kanye kanye zonke futhi siphumelele. Now, in this room, this is where my life was shaped to be what I am today, to be multitask. Ngoba ngangayena umfundi kuphela, ngangumholi umphakathi. Kwamele ngikwenze konke in this house. Very interesting ukuthi wonke umuntu uma ethola a single room la hostel wayejabula kakhulu ngoba nendawo ozokwazi ukuba wedwa wenze izinto zakho wedwa. Kwakuyisifiso nephupho la wonke umuntu to be in a place like this. I was very excited when I first moved in this house. But being a leader of the ANC, many other things happened when I was here. But the first thing that happened when I was here, because of my role in the ANC, then many leaders that we were in those days were shot and killed. Even today, very few of us who are still alive. Mr. Mkhize Lulama, he was a PC member of the ANC, is still alive, he's here today. Majority of those people, not even a single person, only two of us, they were all shot on their way to work or inside the hostel. It was like tough. In 1999, 21 September, in the very same house, a group of IFP people came to this room. They carried syringes full of petrol. They used that petrol in the door to put the petrol inside. The syringe has a pressure. Now petrol moved to the belonging in the house, even on top of blankets because we're sleeping here and other stuff. We felt the smell, but we thought, no, maybe these are cars that used to park outside. It was around 1:45 in the morning. Then we just saw flames in the house. Just imagine you are fast asleep. There are flames in your own space, then you are being burned. We were shocked and terrified. I tried to wake up, but I could see that there was danger. Because when I wake up, I hear the gunshot. Now, there were people waiting for me outside the building, thinking that I will burn or through smoke or inhalation, I will move and jump on the window. They're waiting for me down there. Just imagine, because here I'm in the second floor. Now jumping to go down, but because of fire, they were expecting me that the only route I will use to escape fire was through the window. They're waiting for me. Now, the person who saved my life was my wife, not to, because of her scream. She cried. God gave her a voice that brought the attention of everyone in the building and outside. Because of the smoke and bullets, then she moved and stand in that corner. When we opened the window for the smoke to go out and us to breathe, but there were shots fired on the window, targeting to us. Then when we look at the door, there were people here moving up and down on the door. We thought that they were waiting for us to go out, but I saw this danger here. But because of the window was open, you could breathe. Now my wife screamed, then comrades came to rescue us. My friend Comrade Kaki, who's late now, and Comrade Mkhize, as I've said, Lulama, were the first people to arrive in this room to rescue myself and my wife. Then after that, we were saved. Then when we went out, we saw these 4 syringes, a bottle of Smirnoff full of petrol. They left all those things there, they ran away. On their way down, unfortunately, an innocent life was lost. Comrade Fraser Komete, a comrade, a friend of mine, was shot and killed and died when I was attacked. Even today, whenever I think about him and his family, I always say he died on my behalf, because the plan was to attack and kill me, but he ended up being killed for something that he did not know. But even while he's sleeping, I still respect him, because he died in my place. He was a member of the ANC. He was a comrade shot by those thugs. Now that was the life here. But lastly, very interesting. When I was here, I got elected as a ward councillor for this community. What is interesting about that was a transition in my life that taught me a lesson. Yesterday, I'm a radical young leader of the ANC who was leading ANC forces in defense of this branch of the ANC and the community against the attack from the IFP. I was in the forefront. I have to identify people who are brave that I can pull together as my team to fight. Then it means I was a commander of my own army I've built. And being a commander, I have to be in the front myself, fighting with them as a leader. That's how I was in those days. But now, our leader has been assassinated. A new councillor is to be elected. I was then elected as a councillor. When I became a councillor, I was expected to bring peace, to bring stability, for people to live in harmony. Now the question is, how do you do that? Yesterday you lived another life. Yesterday you were talking another language, but today you talk about peace, reconciliation, and harmony. No, people won't trust you. People will never trust you. Then that transition was very much critical in my political career. But I had to do it. Thank to God, because He gave me strength, He gave me wisdom, bravery as well, to execute that task well.
Sambona kubathini lo mfana uyi-leader, because into wayenzayo lo mfana wakwazi uba arecruite. Kulapho ke babona khona abayi-IFP bathi banyakaza i-ANC sengaphakathi eblokini yenziwa nguThabani Nyawose. Siqhubekile ke noThabani Nyawose wangumholi we-youth ngaphakathi. Sabona uba akungakwazi siqedanga ukwenza lonto. Samthatha uThabani Nyawose wangunobhala we-ANC kwi-Mother Board. Sambona uba hayibo lo mfana ukhuthele. Sathi uThabani Nyawose yi-leader. Sisatsho ke nangoku sisathi yi-leader.
I remember when I arrived here, hostels in the city where the AFP was very strong in those days. ANC was nowhere, but we had to recruit, infiltrate, work hard. But those divisions of being more concerned about your political party, those obsession ended around 2004, 2005. Now people began to see themselves as human beings more than being a member of a political party. They began to share resources. They began to visit one another, no-go areas. Ended. People move freely. Interestingly, even if you are wearing your own IFP t-shirt, you could move all the blocks. Even with an ANC t-shirt, you can move even to past block F without being insulted or without being attacked. That was a huge transformation or change in the life of this community. Working with other leaders, both from the ANC and from the AFP, to make peace here. Now we achieved that. Even today, they live peacefully. But their number one enemy today, all of them, irrespective of political affiliation. Today there's EFF here, there's IFP, there's ANC and other parties. But they live in harmony. their number one enemy is poverty. Currently, I am the acting senior manager for human settlement, responsible for hostels in the eThekwini municipality. There are 10 in total. Now, SJ Smith is one of those hostels. But one of my responsibilities as a senior manager is to make sure that these areas are transformed. By transforming these areas, we are doing two things. You first transform the minds of the people to understand that they are citizens of this country, they've got rights. Number two, to learn to integrate themselves with the neighboring communities. But thirdly, because this is a rental stock, to learn that water, electricity, and other services have to be paid for. But during the time of the transition, no education radically that was conducted to educate them. I was produced by the very same community. I used not to pay myself. I used to encourage people not to pay as part of a strategy to weaken the apartheid regime, collapse the administration so that we take over the control of the hostel. Hostels remain not integrated. Government department, even municipal department, they still treat hostels as a private property. Because in the apartheid days, hostels were owned by the province. Hostels were paying rates to the city. But now hostels were transferred by the provincial government to the municipality. We own now this. It means water, electricity, roads, environmental health, all departments, they have to come up with plans and budget in their own respective department to come and deliver services as they are doing in Lamontville, Navy, Bluff, Umlazi, Umhlanga, Claremont. But departments expect human settlement or my office to do everything. I should do property management, I should do billing, rent collection, keep the area clean, cutting the grass. All that is difficult for me. Fortunately, I am placed in a space where I have to work with people that I know, with community that I grew up produced by them, but now I have to contribute from another level now to influence government to invest in these communities so that issues of poverty, unemployment, illiteracy is being addressed. There's no need to be obsessed and to fight for their political parties. Number one today is to fight poverty, is to encourage young people to go to school and get educated, qualified, so that more educated people are produced from this community who will join us so that the world will begin to understand hostels and respect hostels and govern not to identify hostels as a risk but begin to invest in hostels because hostels can produce academics, intellectuals, scholars. Sometimes future mayors, future premiers, MEC and leaders. And my dream in future is to be one of those.
Thabani has a long history of leadership. After he served as a councillor at S.J. Smith Hostel, he resigned and went to UKZN to study. Here, he was immediately put into a position of responsibility to organize the SRC elections. Then in the following years, was elected as the SRC president.
I'm in an environment that I was not familiar with. From being a rural boy from Izingolweni, being a hostel dweller, I'm here now in a unique environment. At that time I was 26. I was a little bit older than many students. Now, students on my arrival developed confidence and trust in me. I became the Westville SRC president. I then led the student component or body, or represented them in the negotiations for the merger, because Howard College, Pietermaritzburg, Edgewood have to be merged to become what is known today University of KwaZulu-Natal. 2004, that's where I began to have serious problem with my health. In 2003, I was suffering from epilepsy or seizures. I once had a very embarrassing illness or sickness. I remember when I was here, sometimes when I'm from lecture halls, walking to my office as a president, epilepsy will attack me here walking. Then I will fall. Then my body will shake in front of everyone. Mind you, I'm respected here, I'm a leader. Students look at me as a person who's supposed to be exemplary. But people didn't understand what was happening, but that humiliation I suffered when I was here because of the epilepsy. While I was suffering from epilepsy in the very same university, when I got cured or healed through God's grace, because epilepsy is not curable. That's why I'm saying through God's grace, I was cured. Then the following year, I suffered from rheumatoid arthritis. Just imagine, my feet were swollen. My ankles, all my joints were swollen, difficult to walk. From my office to theater hall, I used crutches. Now, those days were very painful and terrible in my life when I was attacked by those sicknesses or diseases. Because these diseases, both of them, they were embarrassing.
Thabani attributes his recovery to a miracle, a return to health through God's grace. After being afflicted by epilepsy, he suffered crippling rheumatoid arthritis. His feet swelled up and he couldn't walk. He spent 2004 in and out of hospital.
Without any scientific evidence, I believe that because epilepsy is not curable, it's a chronic disease, you will never walk again. I'm alone in my room at the hostel. I had time now to have a conversation with myself. Looking at my life, the situation I was in that time, looking at my future. Then my wife, because was training, sometimes she will work a night shift. Then I had time to be alone. That's where I became to know God more than before and became to come closer to Him. Because I had a time where I was alone. I began now to reflect the life I've lived, things I've done in life. Then knowing God, accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior in those years, I began to see things that are wrong that I've done in life. I began to confess. I began to ask God forgiveness and God intervention in my life. In fact, it was a moment of self-introspection.
Alone in his room at the hostel, Thabani heard an announcement on the radio about a prayer service in Durban. He shuffled to the bus station on his crutches and made his way to the church.
There was worship, there was praise, then there was prayer. After that service, nothing that I felt that happened in my body or in my life. But I was happy to be in the presence of God, because by that time already I taken a decision to surrender my life to God and change my ways. Sitting in my house alone, without anyone preaching to me or talking to me, but God revealed himself in my life when I was alone. I then decided to change my life. Now, from that day, that's where I slowly regained strength in my body. I was then later completely healed.
Thabani's character was forged in the furnace of adversity. He was shaped by suffering to lead.
I know Comrade Thabani as a friend, a classmate and a comrade. We studied together, Bachelor of Administration. We led together. He was the president of the SRC at the time when I was the residence liaison officer. Upon him leaving the institution, I took over as the president. So we've worked together in many ways than one. So maybe to give a brief history of Thabani and his character. Thabani is somebody who, one, very firm on his beliefs. He's solid in reasoning. He doesn't change with situations. He changes on the basis that he has been convinced thoroughly of why things must change. But otherwise, he's a very firm somebody and very principled, to be precise. I know him, given the fact that he comes from a very difficult situation at home. Originally is from Izingolweni, but at the time when we met, he was a councillor, if I'm not mistaken, at Wema. And it was encouraging to see somebody who will want to pursue education even at the time when he was earning something. You know, to me, it was courageous of him. But as the president, he was very decisive. He knew what we wanted as an executive, but also he knew what students wanted, and he made sure that he prioritized the students in all we do. Where we faltered, we could feel the whip. He was very firm in his actions, and we were grateful for that, and we learned a lot. Even to date, many of us, wherever we are participating, his teachings, they still continue to help us to grow. So he's one of the leaders that I will not hesitate to support him for whatever position. He's good, he's firm, he's solid.
Kuthi konke lo mphumela ozonsuku zazizimbi sezibuyile manje. Akusekho sikhala ngako manje uNkulunkulu ukhave yonke into manje uwakhela umuzi wakhe nangimuhle.
I believe that the life he's leading is being passed on to me in terms of discipline, respecting, and the philosophy of Ubuntu, you know, which means a person is a person through other person. He believes in that. I deeply believe in that as well. So with him campaigning to be the chairman of Durban, I believe that he will take the city to greater heights. Yeah, just because of those things, you know, discipline, respect, and Ubuntu. You know, knowing who's the next person, being able to speak and communicate and understanding, you know, being able to selfless, you know, to leave what you're doing and help another being, and without expecting to gain anything from it. You know, the only joy you get is to see them happy, and it's to see the next person, you know, getting the help that they're asking for. So there's nothing to gain. That's what you call a selfless leader, and I think that is just that. You know?
But there are a few lessons I've learned in this journey. Number one is to trust God and to involve God in all what I do. That's what motivated me, that keep me going even today. But the second thing I've learned in the journey that I've traveled in life is to be humble. To be humble even at a time when you are popular, when you have power, influence, highly respected, you remain humble. There was a time where I had pride, I was arrogant. But the lesson I've learned by that is God Himself who humbled me. If you believe on something that is correct, you have to teach yourself, have a capacity to articulate your position with authority, for other people to respect you and to agree with you, not being arrogant. Being principled does not mean you have to be arrogant. The manner you advance your argument should be with respect. You must always remember that while you have a right to express your views, but your right should not hurt your fellow human being or your fellow comrade. I have some concern and some dissatisfaction about my own organization. And I pray to God and I appeal to ANC members to always remember that for the ANC to live for more than 108 years, there are people who lost their lives. Some of them died in jail, some in exile, some inside the country. Those families alone, their lives have not changed yet. They're still suffering from unemployment, lack of houses. It means there are still many people who are ANC members who are angry, who are frustrated, who are in pain, who feel betrayed by their own movement, the ANC. Today, members of the ANC, there's lots of chaos within our movement because people that are trying to address issues that have been outstanding for years. I'm very much concerned with that because for me, that is a recipe for the end of the ANC. An organization full of angry people, people who don't forgive, people who don't share love, that organization cannot be trusted by South Africans to lead and to champion their interest. If the ANC want to be respected, if we want to bring back those glory days in the ANC, we have to address issues of forgiveness to bring peace in our movement. Today, we have a problem of number of ANC leaders who are alleged to be involved in corruption. It is an embarrassment. Whether it is true or not, my position and my view, being an ANC member or ANC leader, your conduct is expected to be always beyond reproach. Issues of ethics, morals, and integrity must occupy our minds as members of the ANC as well as leaders of the ANC, so that South Africans, when they see ANC member at a branch level, that member or leader must earn respect, have good ideas, dreams about the future. But if you are not able to deliver services to the people, you better quit politics, stop talking, sit at home. But for you to have a city that is capable to deliver services, you need to have competent public servants with skills, with knowledge to do their work. Also, that I want to do is to make a huge contribution in the life of the ANC, particularly under the circumstances or current condition where the ANC is going at difficult times. But for the ANC to be relevant is to go back to its principles of non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa. But for me, while I'm contesting the futility of the ANC, there are a number of concerns raised by those who are close to me. Fear for my life, politics have lost value. But the reason why I've availed myself is because I believe that as members of the ANC, we are expected to be beyond reproach. Now, I'm contesting while I've been told that there are many risks associated with being a leader of the ANC in our days. But because I have an obligation as a loyal member of the ANC, as a patriotic South African, to make a contribution in changing the lives of our people. I believe in ethical leadership. I believe in the principles of non-racial, non-sexist, a democratic, a peaceful South Africa. I want to make a role for the ANC in our country to achieve that. There is a question that we have to answer as politicians, mainly in the ANC, for people to trust us. What are you bringing, Comrade Thabani? What is new is going to happen? Because we have heard a lot of manifestos, a lot of speeches. But my answer is safeguarding the ANC core values: selflessness, honest, respect, discipline. Those things, it help to build a leader that will be able to bring something new. But one of the things that can change our politics today is to openly not to talk about corruption in the ANC today, but we must be seen taking action. But with a credible team, selfless leaders, people who are concerned more about other people, not themselves. People from eThekwini expect many things from local government. But one of the things that people expect is to have a caring city, a local government that can deliver services. But for local government to achieve that, the first thing you do, you need to have councillors who have been elected by people who enjoy support from their communities. Councillors who are capable, but there are basic needs that any local government had to meet. Issues of deliveries of proper, accurate billing system. Billing system should not cause headache to the citizens of Durban. It's an issue that to be addressed. I know currently there's a major problem about our billing system. It needs to be fixed. The second most basic thing, and it's very easy, is to keep the city clean. Currently, our city is filthy. Townships are dirty. Go to Mlazi today, go to Kato Crest, you go to Morningside. Our city is filthy. Now, a capable local government have to keep the city clean. But the third thing, a capable and a well-run municipality will introduce or have systems that will detect corruption and mismanagement at an early stage. In issues of race relations, we still have some element in our Durban, in our city, where there are issues of racial discrimination. That issue needs to be confronted and addressed. This is not a city of blacks or Africans only. It's not the city of white people only, not a city of Indians or colored. Yes, the system of apartheid has placed us in different areas according to our race or racial groups. But irrespective of that, issues of race relations have to be addressed. People should live in harmony. Durban as a city or the eThekwini municipality can be prosperous if people work together. If there's transparency in all what government or the city do. When citizens of Durban feel that they are being involved, they are part of this administration, they will feel proud and the morale will grow. And then they will support the city. But once they feel that you are hiding something from them because we are not open enough to the citizen, they won't feel part of the city. Citizens have to be given a space to make contributions on how to develop their own city. Ordinary South Africans or citizens of Durban, they've got views, good suggestions. Some of them, they're sitting in their houses with wonderful skills, knowledge on how to address some of the weaknesses in governance. But unfortunately, our system does not allow them to come and make those suggestions. Some of the people will leave our city, go to work outside the province. The leader of this municipality have to address issues of transparency, issues of inclusivity, people where they feel we are involved. That's how I see the future of Durban and the municipality. What I went through in my life, I was being shaped, I was being tested, I was being prepared for something great and something good in my future. And in my mind and in my heart, that time has arrived and that time is now.